Here's an example of someone responding rationally to an incentive. The example is Homer Simpson. He sees the donut and wants the donut, and therefore chases after it because he thinks the cost of walking to the donut is less than the benefit he would receive when he obtained the donut. What he fails to recognize is that the donut moves as he moves. So he's doing something sort of stupid, but it's still rational. And with his limited intelligence, he thinks the benefit of getting the donut is less than the cost, and therefore pursues it, even though he can't obtain it. Rational people respond predictably to changes in the cost and benefit of a choice. If the cost rises or the benefit falls, rational people make the choice less often. If the cost falls or the benefit rises, rational people make the choice more often. This implies, for example, that people purchase less gasoline as the price of gasoline increases, assuming nothing else changes that affects how much more gasoline people want. It also means that students attend class more often when an instructor gives fantastic lectures and nothing else changes that affects how often students want to come to class. A rational person can determine whether to increase or decrease the amount of something to obtain by comparing the extra cost of a small change with the extra benefit of that small change. Comparing the effects of small changes is called analysis at the margin. For example, when deciding whether or not to spend another hour working on Econ 210, the relevant cost is what you give up by having one less hour to do other things, and the relevant benefit is what you gain by studying one more hour. The relevant cost when deciding whether or not to repair a car you're getting ready to sell is the expense and time lost to repair the car, and the relevant benefit is how much more the car is worth and how much less time you spend selling it if you make the repair. Rational people increase the quantity when the extra benefit is greater than the extra cost, and decrease the quantity when the extra cost is greater than the extra benefit. They ignore sunk cost or costs that have already been paid. Remember, less is not equivalent to zero, and more is not equivalent to infinity. Self-interest is not equivalent to selfish. Hindsight is perfect, foresight is not. People often make decisions with imperfect information. The test of the model of rational behavior is whether people respond as predicted to changes in incentives. In this approach, giving away money is not necessarily irrational. After all, the donor may derive great benefit from helping the recipient. But giving away more money when the tax advantage of doing so decreases is irrational. Economists have tested the prediction that incentives matter in many contexts and found that people generally act as predicted. Here are some examples. Incentives matter even when the good is addictive. I've got a link to an article that says higher cigarette prices leads to more smokers quitting. Another article reports that higher prices reduce the rates of smoking and the number of cigarettes sold by tobacco companies. A post has links to an article that mentions the responses by passengers to baggage fees. When baggage fees increase, they check fewer bags, carry on more bags, and compete to be the first on the plane to find good storage for carry-on bags. Now work through these check and understanding questions. After you've looked at them, go to the screencast and compare your answers with what I say.